Humans evolved to be good at two things. The first is running, which makes sense why so many people choose running as their workout. But the second thing humans evolved to be great at is widely ignored. For thousands of years, humans have had to hunt and track down their prey. But what happens after they finally get their prey? They have to carry it back to camp, which brings us to the second thing that humans evolved to be great at: carrying heavy things. Carrying shaped us into who we are, and yet we don't do it anymore. We have grocery carts and strollers and roller luggage. The easiest way to add carrying back into your life is through rucking, the act of hiking with a heavy backpack. It is arguably the most effective workout a human can do. And once I explain the research behind why and all of the benefits that come with it, you'll be rucking soon after this video. Now let's talk about the science behind rucking. First of all is that it burns more calories per mile than walking or running. And that is because you are carrying weight as you cover ground. That stimulates your muscles as you are doing endurance work, burning anywhere from 20 to 300% more calories per mile. Second is that it is also a lot safer than running. Running has anywhere from a 20 to 70% injury rate, yet the injury rate of rucking, it is much lower. It is more akin to walking. Walking's injury rate is about 2%. Now, of course, the more weight you add to the pack, the higher the risk. Here's how to get started. I recommend you keep this as simple and cheap as possible. Get a backpack. Any backpack you have at home is totally fine to begin. Find something that weighs something. This could be a bag of sand, a bag of rice. It could be a dumbbell wrapped in a towel so it's a little more comfortable. Put that weight in the backpack, put it on your back, go for a walk. Don't overthink it. To begin, begin. Once you've actually started rucking with that old backpack you found in a closet, you might want to level up your gear. So there's a lot of companies out there that make rucking specific gear that'll put the weight in nice and tight to your back and just make the experience of rucking a lot more comfortable, a lot more sustainable. But I do recommend that you use whatever you have at home at first so you ensure that you actually like it, and I think you will, and then invest some money into some solid rucking gear. The most common question that I get about rucking is, what weight should I use? And there's a pretty simple algorithm or calculation you could use. First things first is never go over a third of your body weight. There's decades of research from the military that suggests going over a third of your body weight increases the injury risk and you don't get that many more benefits. That all said, I think most people are great to start with 10% of their body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you'd be using 20 pounds. If you weigh 150 pounds, you'd be using 15 pounds. Start with that, ease in, and then just sort of work your way up. I personally use about 20% of my body weight. That is 30 pounds for me. I find that that weight is definitely effortful. At the same time, it's not so burdensome that I can't cover a lot of miles. So you're wanting to find the sweet spot between a weight that feels heavy, that feels like you're working hard, but at the same time doesn't suck so much that you won't cover a bunch of miles. Humans are unique in that we can carry weight. We are the only mammal that can pick up weight and carry it for distance. And that absolutely shaped us into who we are. It allowed us to carry tools into the unknown. It allowed us to explore the world and eventually take over the globe. Now, when it comes to backpacks are exceedingly ancient. They were actually invented by ancient mothers who had to carry their kids around in their arm, and they finally figured out, well, what if we could put this kid in some sort of sling, and that would free our hands, and then we could do more work, hunting and gathering across the day while keeping our child safe and tight to our bodies. Eventually, militaries around the world started realizing, hey, we can throw our gear in these backpacks when we fight war. So very ancient times, the Romans used to carry about 35 pounds of gear into battle. Over time though, those loads successively crept up over time. By the 1800s, in some of those wars, people were carrying about 65 to 80 pounds into battle. That is exceedingly burdensome. And then, once we got into Vietnam and the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, you started to see soldiers carrying more than 100 pounds into battle. And that is when you start to see a lot of injuries around rucking occur. Now, the issue with this is that as those loads crept higher, the injury rates rise, but you see this popularity in rucking happen where the average person says, okay, well, a soldier is carrying this much weight, maybe I should do that too. So there's this sort of militaristic bent to rucking that hasn't always served the average person. When it comes to the average person, you should definitely be staying below a third of your body weight. And for most people, most of the time, 10 to 20% of your body weight is totally correct and a good weight to start at. In terms of distance, I would recommend that you start with just what you would consider a normal walk. So if you go out on a walk with your spouse, with your kids, whatever it is, and it's 3 miles, I would say start with 3 miles. From there, you can slowly start to add in more distance, but I would say don't overdo it at first. I found that anywhere from 3 to 6 miles in a day is a nice sort of daily ruck for me. At the same time, on the weekends, I might go out and do 10 miles. I might go do 15 miles, but I'm not doing those super far distances daily. I sort of stagger my training in different amounts, slightly different weights, different distances, and that gives me an overall better stimulus. It keeps me healthier, it keeps me fitter. Now you know what rucking is. You've got your backpack, you've loaded it. Let's cover a few mistakes that you might encounter. First off comes with loading. So a lot of people will just throw the weight in the bag and just forget about it. But what you want to do is actually keep that weight as tight to your back as possible. And if you can elevate it slightly, for example, put it on a yoga block, find a cardboard box to prop it up on, that'll keep the weight nice and tight and high on your spine, which will lead to less sway in the bag and better mechanics as you ruck. And that'll allow your ruck to be more comfortable. You'll be able to go farther and you will reduce any little perturbations in how you walk that could maybe eventually lead to some tweaks in your feet and your knees. Second problem that a lot of people face is posture. Now I will say that when you ruck, because the weight is on your back, you are going to naturally tip a little bit forward in order to sort of balance your body. That is totally fine. At the same time, you don't want to be slouching so far forward that you feel a little bit awkward and like you're really leaning forward. If that's the case, you've probably overloaded the bag. Just remove a little bit of weight. Find a good posture where you feel like you're standing tall, you got a little bit of lean. What'll happen is that your abs will generally engage because it sort of shuts off your back muscles and your abs have to pick up that slack, and that really works then and gives you a killer core workout as you are covering ground. Rucking and carrying weight is an activity that humans have been doing for all of time. We are literally built to do it, and it can still give us a ton of benefits today. In the past, we would use it to carry what we killed all the way back to camp. And you can do that metaphorically today by carrying what you kill and earning your fitness through a long ruck. You are built for this, and remember, to begin, begin.